Happy Sunday night. Oh my gosh, big week ahead, right? I tell you, the school starts for us in Denver tomorrow. So if you will probably hear little voices running around downstairs, we think that we're all ready, that we've got everything packed and by the door, which means HRH will be going through there any minute now, pulling everything's out and trying to see what's in this bag. What's in this bag? This is why we don't do anything ahead of time. Last minute is the only thing that works when you've got little ones in the house. So my name's Coach MK. I'm back yet again to answer all the big questions that might be burning up the hearts and the minds of all my runners out there. And it seems like there's only one question this week. And luckily that question coincides with what I had planned to talk about, which is that end of summer disruption. Now, summer, the way we do it in this country, is very much a disruption. As nice as it sounds to have this big, long stretch of summer break, it is actually for working parents pretty hectic, especially once your kids are aged out of preschool, where schools tend to go year round. You got to string together nannies or summer camps if you're going to get work done. So for us, that this process of freaking out and stringing things together ends today. With the kids going back tomorrow, HRH actually starts on Wednesday. So what that has to do with what I want to talk about is the fact that a lot of routines, if you were able to get one to get you through the summer, they're about to shift in a really big way. So I talk all the time about running. It's not just one habit. And so we tend to beat ourselves up when we don't on a day when the running doesn't happen. And in these times of transition, the thing to remember is that running is one big habit that is supported by a million little habits. Did you lay your clothes out the night before? Did you get to bed at a reasonable time? Did you get to bed and fall asleep at a reasonable time? Did you all these little things that make it easier to just kind of get up and go. For me, there have been years in the past where I literally slept in my running clothes because I knew that if I didn't, that extra step of going to the bathroom and turning on the light would be one that talked me right back into bed. I can't tell you why. There's something about a bright light in my face that just makes me angry and it makes me non-compliant. And even if I'm the thing I have to comply with, it still wouldn't work very well. So, or for a lot of years, other tricks that I would have, I would, if I just, because it's not always comfortable, sleep in your running clothes, I would leave them in the bathroom so that when I would go in there to turn on the light, I'd be like, well, my pants are already off. I might as well put on my run clothes. Makes sense, right? So little things like that to sort of not trick myself into doing anything, but rather might as well, it's right there. Might as well, it's right there. Because everything you need, if it's not available, if your iPod isn't charged, if your earbuds just won't connect, that could be a really good reason in that moment to be like, it's too hard going back to bed, right? So we need to why not a really big path, and that is a lot of little hobbies and a lot of little habits. And maybe in the summers you don't need them because if you are fortunate like me to have more flexible time, I usually go running after I take the kids to camp instead of getting up early in the morning. But that will not necessarily be an option for me personally this year. So getting up again and going right out the door as soon as I wake up is going to have to become my norm. So if that's kind of where you are, and this is going to be changing, it's time to go back and start thinking about all the little habits that support the bigger running habit. Maybe make a checklist. Nothing wrong with that. We used to have a checklist. I'll go see if I can find it and email it to everyone. But that checklist, and I'm not a checklist person, y'all. I'm not of ADHD. Checklists get stolen by my kids and scribbled on. Grocery lists do too. It's why I don't do them. I shop in an app whenever I can. And do curbside pickup. It just makes life a whole lot easier. No one can mess with that. But I have to find ways that no one can sabotage because there's a lot of accidental sabotage in my house. If there's some in yours as well, don't hesitate to get into office hours and we can talk through strategies. Make your checklist, think about what little things need to happen because those little things, like I don't have a clean running bra. I don't have clean running socks. My running shoes don't feel good. These are all little things that will keep you from, or rather not having shoes that feel good. That's a pretty big thing that will keep you from running. So let's address the thing, mitigate the thing, and keep on going to make that nice wide pathway of might as well all the way out the door when you're going to need it most. Granted, I know it's been a really rough summer and it's been really hot. So I'm saying like we are turning a corner. I know here in Denver, the heat is finally kind of broken. I don't know if it's a permanent break, but it's a break. I'll take any break that I can get my hands on. It was only 70 2 today, which in full sunlight is still warm, but now we got cloud cover and it feels really nice, and I'm wearing long sleeves. I haven't worn long sleeves in I don't know how long, but that also makes me excited because I looked at the weather and I know that first thing in the morning, it is not going to be 72 degrees. It is actually going to be cool. It is not going to be humid, and it's going to be perfect for running. So I've already set out my run clothes for HRH to, I'm sure, get her hands on and put wherever she feels like it. So that's what I'll get for being too far ahead. Timing is key with executing all these little habits. But yeah, just start thinking about all these things and get excited to go early if that's your thing. If you're like, MK, that's crazy, I will never be excited about mornings. Cool. What can we do? Afternoons, lunchtimes? Let's figure it out. Because remember, right now, wherever you are on your fitness journey, you are not alone. One of the things at Fitness Protection, this is a big conversation I've been having with Coach Nikki and been having with my husband lately, is the fact that, yeah, we kind of got crushed during the pandemic, but so did everybody else. So did everyone else's fitness level. Very few people, except for Karen Schluter, because she's not human and she doesn't count. She's sort of like superhuman. But pretty much everyone except her, our fitness, for one reason or another, got completely crushed. Either our routine was destroyed with changes to the working at home environment, or in my case, it was my health. There are a lot of reasons. There are a myriad reasons. There are so many reasons, and all of those reasons are valid. So wherever you are right now, you are by no means behind. And I tell you this, if you have not been training already, then yeah, fall marathon's out of the question. A couple of people have been asking me about that too. If you have not been, now remember, the reason that we do things the way we do here at Fitness Protection is rather than having this long 20 weeks start to finish, or even 16-week typical traditional marathon plan where people, don't admit it, but they usually go 0 to marathon. I need a really big goal to get myself back in shape, so I'm going to train for a marathon, and they go from 0 to marathon effectively. And I wanted to prevent that. I'm like, how about if we just had month to month? Because if on the 16-week plan, if you get COVID in week or the flu and can't run for a week, or your kids are all sick and you don't get to run for a week, that can derail the subsequent 16 weeks of that plan. So what we wanted to do here was have something that was almost unfuckable, that we could sort of, like, you're hitting the reset button at the beginning of every month, and we can say, hey, I'm in a place right now. I look good. I feel good. My training feels good. I'm going to put this race on the calendar. How much time do I need? I would say 10 weeks, right? But only if you've really been doing the work and maintain for 2 to 3 months. 3 is pretty comfortable. You can do a half at a drop of a hat, and really only 10 stress-free weeks to ramp up for a marathon. I like to keep things as stress-free as possible. Wherever you are right now, it can be really tempting to go back to that place where it's like, I am not as fit as I want to be. I'm not as fit as I used to be. I want to train for a marathon again. Let's go. I would beg you to reconsider that position, because that sort of thinking gets a lot of people hurt. It got a whole lot of people hurt. When I started coaching, it was the sort of thing. There's a reason the original Fitness Protection program was meant to be a bridge program between the spring and the fall marathon season for lifetime fitness runners in Denver, Colorado, where I used to coach. And I really want this to be the same way. No matter how long your season is, no matter how long the distance between each season has been, there's an easy place for you to plug in at Fitness Protection. And I would rather you think of it that way, plugging in and ramping up. And then when you feel ready to train, you can, rather than trying to trick or challenge yourself. We're going to, like, same way that I do with my running, we're just going to, why not all the way out the door? We need to get you to a place where you are, why not all the way to a marathon? And I know that sounds a little silly, but when you've been doing maintain for about 3 months, those 2.5 hour long runs, why not 3 hours? Why not 3.5? You can why not really easily into ramping up when you are confident in what you're doing. If you are not there yet, that's just fine, but you're not exactly at a place where you can why not a marathon. I would encourage you, why not a half? Why not a half? You can do a whole lot with what we give you in rebuild, more than you would expect. You can do a whole lot with what we do with just the first week in maintain. If you look at maintain and you just want to do that first week over and over again, a lot of people do. That is fine, man. I'm not here to challenge or push you. I'm here to guide and support. And I see that as a very different thing. Challenging and pushing is probably what broke people before they came to me. as sort of a last resort to fix their relationship with running or racing, what have you. So again, right now, most of the people I know, including me, there's no way I'm running anything this fall. Next year is not completely off the table, but this year absolutely is. And that's okay. Right? I don't want to do a race if it's going to make me feel bad. I only want to do it if it's going to make me feel good. Otherwise, there's no point. I am too old to do things that don't make me feel good and pretend that they do. And I'm not going to perform that for you guys because, like, if I'm not going to do that, then and I'm a run coach, right? This is arguably what I do for a living, right? So if I'm not in a place where I want to race, then why are you going to be holding yourself to some higher, more abusive, I would argue, and more ridiculous standard? You know, if I don't feel like I have to do it, why do you? Again, if these are all things that you're trying to parse, hop into office hours and talk to me. If you just want to talk to me and hang out, we can do that. I've got plenty of openings in office hours next week. What matters the most right now is that you remember that you're coached, you are loved, and you're winning at life, whether or not you've been running. If you have not really been running this summer, it's valid. Let's not try to trick ourselves. Let's try to why not ourselves into something, into just developing a running habit. Because a running habit, again, is an easy thing to fall out of. I've been running every other day now for the past week. For the first time in a long time, the medicine's working. I feel really good. I'm excited. And I forget how much running can take out of you. Everything's easy when you're fit. It is really super easy when you're fit. When you are not fit, when you're coming back to fitness, that is really when you need the community and the coach the most, because it's hard. These periods of metabolic change is hard. I've spent a lot of time sleeping. I've napped every day this week, and I'm not a napper. If you've been with me for a while, you know this. Like, naps are not something that have ever come naturally to me. I'm too energetic of a person to really kind of have downtime in the afternoon. But I have needed a nap every single day since I started run walking. Again, I am not officially on rebuild yet, but I'm hoping to start that next week. Because I just wanted to see what I could do and what felt good first before I sort of committed to a plan. By next week, I mean like September. So starting on September the 1st, I'll be jumping into rebuild. And I'm going to try to start, come back, another habit for me, posting in the groups, doing the strength along with Coach Nakia and Coach Calvin, and saying hi and being a lot more present. Because for a while but it's easier to stay in these habits when you use all the pieces. There's no pressure to use all of them, but rather it's like, this is really what you kind of need to get and stay excited. I hate the word motivated because, like, I don't know, motivation and accountability are two words that are just overused and become meaningless. I want you to be excited about running. I want you to be excited to talk about the running that you did. I want you to be excited about the workout that you did and have a space to celebrate any movement that you did that day, whether it's a run walk like mine or a nap, anything that necessitated a nap. That's going to be pretty cool too. Jump into that face first, do it with us, and let's celebrate every little bit of it, because that's the positive reinforcement that's going to make you come back to this thing over and over again. And yeah, that positive reinforcement is one of the little habits that supports a big habit in the long run. Anything that makes you feel bad, you're not going to stick with it for very long. And it is my sincere wish that you will stick with this for life. So there we go. Now coming into the questions. There's just one, and it does play on this thing. So, hi, NK. I just started a new job and I'm having trouble getting my routines back in place. My day-to-day schedule honestly didn't change that much, but somehow all of my supporting routines have just blown up and I cannot seem to get back on track. Any suggestions on how to put all the pieces back together when everything comes crashing down? So the first thing that I would do specifically, sorry, y'all, it's hot in this room. Ugh. It's like, it's not that hot outside, but it is hot in this house. We need windows that open. So the first thing that I would do is look back over the previous week and think about look at each day and ask yourself, why didn't I run that day? And again, you got to ask yourself this free from judgment, because it's not about beating yourself up, being really sorry and promising you won't do it again. We don't look at it that way. But it's to say, you know what? I didn't run on Monday because I didn't have it in the calendar. And by the time it was 4:00 and I thought about it, it was too hot. I didn't go on Tuesday because I didn't think about it. I didn't go on Wednesday. Okay, cool. That's fine. What I'm hearing there is, I didn't think about it. So let's think about it. Let's put it in the calendar, get our partner on board if childcare is something that you need, because having it in your calendar and having a little reminder or event alert like I have on my Google Calendar can go a long way to letting you know that like this has got to be done, or having a naming your alarm. I could do that on my Android, my BlackBerry. I miss my BlackBerry so much. I could name my alarms. I can't do that on my iPhone. Inferior piece of machinery. But I used to have, so the first alarm when it would go off would say, you may snooze. Then the second alarm would say, seriously, last snooze. And then the third alarm would be like, if you don't run now, you won't get to. And that was that. And that was when, then I would go to the bathroom, turn on the light, be like, my pants are off, might as well put on my run clothes since they're right here on the floor next to the toilet. And I know, again, it sounds a little silly, but these are the things that are the why nots are a bunch of little things that you probably have not had to think about in a couple of years. So make a list of them. It can't hurt. Make a list of the reasons why you didn't run, and then think of like one simple way to mitigate them, or go back and think about all the little things you used to do, like leaving your clothes in the bathroom, your running clothes in the bathroom overnight, or your shoes as well. Like I couldn't tie my shoes next to the side door because for some reason, anytime I would sit down to tie my shoes there, my house is really old. The kids would hear me walking through the kitchen. So I had to go through the front door, and I could not open that front door until my shoes were on, and I had already done silly toes and was ready to go because little feet would hear me open that front door and come up the stairs. So I had to like go out the door like a rocket and down the street. Otherwise it would be like, Mommy! And there's no way you can run from that because it's just too freaking hard. And that's real. So start thinking in those terms, like only you know what all of those little supporting habits were, from laying your clothes out the night before to having breakfast ready to go in the kitchen, or in my case, again, in the bathroom when you come back. I know, again, it sounds excessive, but when I had a husband who traveled and help in the mornings, the sitter would walk through the door, I would run out, come right back in, and then my breakfast shake would be in a shaker ready to go, along with my morning supplements that I would consume while waiting for the water to warm up for the shower. There for a while, I was getting the run done, but I was forgetting to take the supplements because why? They just weren't there next to the shower. So these are the little things, like what didn't I do and how can I, why not it into my morning? And then those are the little knots that are going to hold the whole running habit, be the rug that holds the room together. So that's how I would start to think about it if I were you. And again, don't be hard on yourself. Everyone right now is in this boat, literally everyone. If there was one thing that I think I could sell, and we're thinking about ways to do that with the marketing team, it's rebuild right now, because I don't know anyone except Karen Schluter, inhuman goddess that she is. I don't know anyone who isn't in a place of rebuilding right now. Most of us are just trying, like, come out of a period of trying to keep our heads above water, and coming back to running is really hard because for a lot of us, our fitness is farther behind than it has ever been. And that's humbling. It's embarrassing. And it's really hard. Everything's easy when you're fit. When you're not, coming back to it, it can be a bit overwhelming because you're having pull all these threads together, all these little habits together one by one, once more. But I promise it's going to come back. Again, I'm here to support you. I'm here to help. If you have any questions, office hours. But for me, I know that the big habits are setting the alarms the night before, having my shake and go breakfast in the bathroom, along with my running clothes before I go to bed at night. And if I have that done, and I make sure that I put my earbuds now, because I've got audiobooks, y'all. I'm into audiobooks, and I'm not getting out of them ever. I have my earbuds on charge next to the bed during the day, and I put them in the bathroom as well, so I can't walk out the door and forget them in the mornings, right? Because I'll be mad at myself if I'm halfway down the block. I'm not turning around and coming back into this house. If I do, Mommy would get me, and I wouldn't get back out again. So making sure I have all those little things, and if you need to write them down, if you're a checklist person, great, do that. But if you're not, don't worry about it. Just try to do what works for you and talk to me if you need help figuring it out. All right. It's 23 minutes of saying the same thing over and over. All that matters is that you know how loved you are, and that you know you're winning at life, and that you know you're not behind by any stretch of the imagination. Most of us are in the same boat. We're facing the same storm. We have different tools in order to do it, but it's not like everyone's doing something that you've just forgotten to do or haven't been able to do or have a commitment problem or have a motivation problem. I don't believe that at all. If you're here engaging with me, if you're thinking about it, if you're talking with us, if you're still connected or tethered to us in some way, then that is the bare minimum you need to be able to put yourself right back where you were before, if not better. And that's also what it means to be coached and loved and winning at life. Have a great week. Enjoy the first week of school. I know I will. All the kids out the house, what am I going to do? Might have to record a podcast.